We will call the meeting to order of the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors. Call meeting Wednesday, September the 8th, 2021, 5 p.m. Board meeting room, 39 Bank Street, Southeast, Chatham, Virginia. Roll call.
Mr. Davis.
Present.
All right.
Mr. Dudley.
Present.
Mr. Farmer.
Here.
Mr. Ingram.
Here.
Dr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Scarce.
Here.
Mr. Warren.
Here. Are there items to be added to the agenda?
I don't know.
Okay. Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Scarce, seconded by Mr. Dudley. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
All right. Mr. Dudley.
Yes.
Dr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Ingram.
Yes.
Mr. Farmer.
Yes.
Mr. Scarce.
Yes.
Mr. Warren.
Yes. We're down to public hearing. Public hearing, item number 1, public hearing on transit occupancy tax. We'll open the public hearing at 5:02 p.m. And Mr. Smotherman.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. This request is made by staff upon consultation with the Commissioner of the Revenue, as well as affected property owners and those that are collecting or required to collect the transient occupancy tax that was previously adopted and made effective September 1st. We have been in conversation not only with those affected, but also the industry trade associations, and understand there are some technical, I should say, procedural issues related to the collection of the reports and the remittances of the tax that need to be improved prior to making this effective. We are working, and Mr. Arnold is here, and he is working directly with our software vendor and the Commissioner's office to improve the ease at which our affected hoteliers and others can submit the required information monthly. We want to make sure that this is an easy process. We also realize that the impact of this tax would not be felt during the current event that's taking place at Blue Ridge Amphitheater, because all those tickets were sold prior to enaction of the tax of September 1st. So therefore, to alleviate the short window of adjustment necessary, we are asking the Board of Supervisors to consider delaying implementation until January 1st to ensure that our processes are as modern and as friendly as possible for those that have to remit the transient occupancy tax. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone sign up?
Yes, we have Jeff Love.
Mr. Love, please come forward, state your name and the district you're from. Yes, sir.
Jeff Love, Callan's Gretna District, I believe. Owner of Leesville Lake Campground in Gretna. First, we appreciate that the board has heard our concerns as well as the county administrator and scheduled this meeting. If this tax is implemented, we also request changing the effective date to January 1, 2022 for the following reasons. All the affected businesses have received less than 30-day notice. Affected businesses were not informed about this tax until after the board voted to approve it. Affected businesses need to make major changes to a number of items, and those changes will require substantial time and money. Most of those items need to be updated by outside vendors, including the following: our reservation software, our invoicing software, our accounting software, our paper invoices and statements, and our publicized rates and taxes on websites and signage. The summer and fall months are, of course, our busiest months, and very busy for tourism and lodging in the area, which makes it much more difficult and challenging for us to make major changes like this. We have a number of customers and guests with advanced reservations that have already received invoices from us that indicate a zero balance or a specific balance due. And we can't realistically or ethically go back and now change those invoices and say, oh, by the way, you owe more now because of a change in the taxation. To date, we've received 2 letters from the Commissioner of the Revenue. The first letter, dated January 29th, stated, should you have any questions regarding this, please contact the Commissioner of the Revenue Office at 434-432-7940. After numerous calls and emails, we still haven't received clear answers to our questions. We've also received conflicting answers depending on the individual that responded. We've also received another letter dated August 25th, 2021, in that, and quoting, as a reminder, the Commissioner of the Revenue Office does not make policy but administers what the Board of Supervisors adopts. In light of that, it appears that the Commissioner doesn't want to accept any responsibility for providing guidance, even though we were directed to contact that office with our questions. So they've been unable to answer most of our questions. All the affected businesses require detailed guidelines in a formal and written signed document like we did on these letters in order to properly implement the tax. So we're not saying we're in opposition at this point to the tax, it's just that we don't know how to implement it properly. The tax return that we receive contains errors, and it includes a gross receipts field, and only a portion of our gross receipts would be subject to a transient occupancy tax. We also sell products. We have guests that stay with us longer than 30 days, and none of those would be included in the tax, but they are included in our gross receipts. So that's we don't know what we want, what's supposed to be in gross receipts. So if it's supposed to be a true gross receipts, then we will not get a proper calculation of the tax. We would suggest maybe
Mr. Love, I'm gonna have to ask you to wrap it up. We kind of allow 3 minutes and you're almost on 4, so if you just, we're gonna give you some extra time because you're the only one speaking, but,
Okay.
okay.
And then per the Virginia State Code 58.1-3819, you can allow us to get a commission to compensate us for our processing time and the expenses that we're going to incur as a result of this, and it can be up 3 to 5% of the tax due. So we would trust that that would happen like we do with the sales tax. Just really briefly, of course, all the lodging businesses that I talked to, and there's very few of us in the county, we're all in opposition for the tax because it's discouraging tourism in the county. It's costing our guests more than neighboring counties because we're at a 4%. And we believe and feel that the businesses specifically located that are holding these major events like the upcoming Blue Ridge Rock Festival, that you could find a way possibly to have fees and so forth to them. So I have some other comments. I can leave those with you in a written statement.
Thank you. If you'll leave it with the county attorney, that'll be great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any questions from the board members for Mr. Love or for Mr. Smithman? Okay. Seeing none, board's pleasure.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the revisions to the Pittsylvania County Code as presented in our packet, and also make a motion changing the effective county transit occupancy tax from September 1, 2021 until January 1 of 2022.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Farmer. I didn't catch who seconded
I did.
it. Mr. Dudley.
Yes, sir.
Is there any discussion on the motion? I just have one comment, and that is more directed to our staff. I think all of us would like to see our staff, and if you gentlemen don't agree, please speak up after I make this statement. We would like to see our staff offer everything that is available from the county to assist the Commissioner of Revenue, to get this right before January the 1st, when it's implemented. I do support the occupancy tax. I don't think it'll be a detriment to our business owners. If the tax was going to be a detriment, I don't think we'd have overflow this weekend in Danville and all their hotels. So I hope you all will get a big windfall from future events, and hopefully that'll be happening both at that venue and at the Ag Center, which I know they're doing a lot of good things. So I know that this is not a true burden directly on you all paying the tax. I know you got to get your equipment and stuff up to speed, and we certainly want to give you time to do that. However, this is a flow through. You're going to collect it and then send it on. So it shouldn't be a tremendous burden on you. You're already collecting sales tax. So I do support the occupancy tax, but I also support delaying it until January, because this is certainly an adverse impact that we didn't realize. And this delay came about, and this quick response came about because we had some problems with ordinances in relationship to other things that caused us to put a freeze on anything, and then everything kind of moved quickly. So we apologize for that oversight on our part. We certainly didn't want to put any undue burden on our business owners. So we apologize for that. Any other comments? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Farmer?
Yes.
Mr. Ingram?
Yes.
Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Scares?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes. We're down to new business, item 6A, Project Solomon, local performance agreement approval. Mr. Rowe. Oh, I'm sorry, I closed the public hearing at 5:10.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Obviously, August 26th, we had a very substantial announcement with Tyson Foods going on to Lot 9 in the Cane Creek Center Industrial Park, previously known as Project Solomon. And so as part of that process, we need to approve the local performance agreement that is in front of you. This agreement has already been reviewed and approved by the Regional Industrial Facility Authority through unanimous vote, City of Council for the City of Danville through unanimous vote, and it just so this is how the timing aligned itself to get to the county. As you see in there, this is all being done based upon performance, so 70% tax rebate based upon the substantial amount of tax investment. And in addition, if the company is not to perform, they have actually voluntarily put up a $9.6 million non-compliance fee that is guaranteed from the parent company, which is of course a Fortune 200 company. But if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them at this time.
Any questions from board members? Okay, I don't see any. Matt, thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the LPA with Tyson Project Solomon as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Davis, seconded by Dr. Miller. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Farmer?
Yes.
Mr. Ingram?
Yes.
Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Scares?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes. I have one quick follow-up question. Just for the board's edification, can you tell us how many available sites we have left in the Ringo Industrial Park, both that are jointly owned and any that are individually owned?
For pad site-wise, you have one in the Ringgold East Industrial Park. As you know, that's getting significant interest. You have one pad site that's left over in the Brownsville Industrial Park.
I'm not talking about Brownsville, I'm just talking about Ringo.
In Ringgold, yes, sir. So that's the only one in Ringgold, and then you also have Lot 8, which is a very small pad site in Cane Creek, which is jointly owned with the City of Danville through RIFA.
So there's only 2 lots left out there in that Ringo.
One is getting a lot of interest.
Yes. I just wanted you all to hear that because I think we need to realize that our inventory, other than Bury Hill, is reduced, and that's a That's a good thing, but it's the thing we need to be looking forward thinking about what we're going to do when they're all full. So, thank you, Mr. Rowe. We're down to 5D, resolution number 2021-09-01, local support of the utilization of industrial access railroad track funds. Mr. Rowe.
Just very briefly, thank you, gentlemen, for the previous approval. I'm able to tell you now this evening that the company's reached out, this is for Tyson, that they are looking at dates to have a groundbreaking in October with your approval, so thank you all for doing that. This particular item that's before you, of course, is for the Stanton River Plastics project. If you've driven through Hurt anytime recently, you've noticed a substantial change to that site. Active construction is ongoing, and steel is scheduled to arrive on site at the end of October. They're doing a great job. We're right on schedule. And so as part of that project, the state offered the opportunity to the company to apply for rail enhancement grants. This is something that the company pays for and they get reimbursed for. And so as part of that process, they desire to have letters of support. And so we're seeking letters of support from both this board, the Town Hurt Council, in addition to the City of Danville. That's the great part of that partnership with the Stanton River Regional Industrial Facility Authority, and that really strengthens that application. And so at this point in time, this is a project that scores very, very well for that grant, and the state is feeling very strongly about this project. So it would pay for up to 70% of the rail rehab, and just, of course, as you gentlemen know, the Industrial Development Authority owns that property, and so that rail rehab will go to benefit us long term, but then we can utilize that for additional sites on the northern portion of that property. So that's what's before you this evening, and I'll certainly answer any questions if you have any.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain the board's pleasure.
Mr. Chairman, this is in my district, but I'll go ahead and make the motion. I make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-09-01 attached and presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Dudley, seconded by Mr. Davis. Any discussion on the motion? Any questions? I just have one question for you, Mr. Rowe, and this is, again, for transparency information for our citizens. None of these projects that's been mentioned tonight in relationship to Solomon or in relationship to the rail track grant funds require any funds from citizens' tax dollars that are not performance driven. In other words, they got to perform before they get one thing, any tax relief or anything.
That's 100% accurate, yes.
Yes, and the reason I want to say that is this board has worked very diligently to ensure our citizens that we're protecting their tax dollars to the fullest extent possible, and everything has to be purpose-driven. You have to perform before you get any tax rebates and stuff from us, and that has not always been the case within the county, and that has been a direction from this board that we wanted to protect the citizens' tax dollars. So
That's
just want to be clear.
That's an accurate statement. When you hired me, Mr. Chairman, that is exactly what this board directed, and we followed that.
Okay, and as chairman of this board, I thank you all for having the foresight, each and every one of you, for doing that. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, roll call.
All right. Dr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Ingram.
Yes.
Mr. Farmer.
Yes.
Mr. Dudley.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Scarce.
Yes.
Mr. Warren.
Yes. That completes anything that was on the agenda tonight for the call meeting, so I will declare the meeting adjourned.